Shall we stand as we're able and begin by singing together?
Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Portland, whether you are here in our sanctuary or via live stream. We are a multi-generational community where you are invited to grow in spirit and to join with all of us in our efforts to grow our capacity to build the beloved community. I have a few important announcements. If you are here for your first or one of the first times, we want to welcome you especially. And following the service, you can join Jen Thomas, our Membership Engagement Coordinator, for a brief welcome and check-in immediately following the service right here in the North Gallery of the Sanctuary. And she can answer any initial questions, let you know about upcoming opportunities, and help you navigate to the coffee hour in Fuller Hall downstairs following the service. And I heard some desire to clap. I'm going to give you a chance to like a robust clap. I thought that was like a decent clap, but this next announcement. I believe most everyone heard the music ministry transition team's good news. Let us all welcome Garrett Bond on his first Sunday. I thought that's what you meant. And Garrett's title is he is our new interim director of music ministries, and we are so fortunate. We are celebrating our 100th anniversary of Elliott Chapel, and next week is an architecture panel with presenters George Crandall, Cindy Comfer, and Roger Robinson. Today is a vibrant day with a lot following the service. The Learning Community Halloween Party for families kicks off immediately following the service in Buchanan Reception. Enjoy lunch, games, slightly spooky stories, and more. And costumes are welcome, and many of our children are already in costume next door. At 11:30 a.m., our Care and Action for Reproductive Dignity meeting gets started in the fireside room and on Zoom for those online. At 12 p.m., you can attend the Senior Minister's Fall Update. There will also be a winter and a spring update to look forward to, and Q&A, followed by the board's finance update and Q&A, and that's happening in Elliott Chapel and on live stream. At 12 p.m., Tea Time, a trans, non-binary, and gender-expansive exclusive gathering, is happening in the Channing Room. And at 12:15 p.m., a member orientation series, Spiritual Practices for All, however new or long you've been here, led by Jen Thomas and Danielle Garrett in Buchanan A108. And in keeping with the mixture of seasons that I'm beginning to notice, we're kicking off All Hallows Eve, and the Alliance Holiday Green Sale kicks off today in Coffee Hour and online. Last week, we launched our season of giving, and today I would love to welcome Marnie Tapscott and Scott Eliasoff into our pulpit to share a brief reflection with all of you.
Like many couples who've been together for 40 years, we occasionally have different memories about past events. For example, I remember first coming by myself to First Unitarian Portland in the mid-90s after seeing the Hate-Free Zone banner and feeling like the sermon that day could have been written just for me.
And I remember that I was the first person to discover First Unitarian. I was interested in finding a spiritual community and a church choir to sing in, having grown up in the American Baptist Church. As I recall, I attended on my own the first time, and when I learned that the church was friendly and welcoming to LGBTQ folks, I knew that this was a church for me.
Either way, the outcome is the same. One of us invited the other, and we both realized that this was our spiritual home. We enrolled our son into the RE program and quickly got involved in social justice activities.
An unexpected benefit of becoming involved church members is that it really enriched our marriage. I didn't realize how much Scott's and my values were aligned until we became members that first time.
Around 2002, we had to move to Boston area for work, where we remained for 17 years.
And endured 17 long, cold New England winters. We visited many historic UU churches, but we never felt like any of them were our church home, and we were so happy, to be able to return to First Unitarian Portland.
So we were thrilled to come back to Portland in 2019 and again get involved in social activities like the UU The Vote. For me, it feels good to do something, as Michelle Obama said. Sometimes I wonder if she's a UU secretly. And it definitely beats yelling at my TV.
Having the opportunity to learn about and help start our CARD group, which stands for Care and Action for Reproductive Dignity, has been so fulfilling and feels so important in the current political climate. And having Scott join the CARD group this last year is so wonderful. We need more men in this group, so please come. And I have really enjoyed how much Scott and I are working together as a team on a number of social justice activities. Oops.
We are proud to once again be sustaining members of First Unitarian Portland, and we feel that we get as much as we give. Oh, sorry. We feel that we get as much out of this church as we give.
True love is a two-way street. So if you feel like you get love from this church, please find a way to give back generously, whether it's your time or your checkbook or both. Thank you.
Well, I cannot resist telling Scott and Marnie, which you might know, some of you, that Obama, two of his grandparents were Unitarian Universalist, and in fact, I hear when he was a boy, he occasionally attended RE when he was at their house. So There you go. Now you know. And with that, I invite everyone to turn and greet their neighbor warmly this morning, and welcome warmly to those online. I love that sound. I love that joyous sound. I feel like maybe people are breaking into their Halloween candy early and having it before coming. It is time for us to light our chalice. Those of you who are online, if you have a candle or a chalice at home, we invite you to join us. And Davis the Dalmatian is going to help me. So, and actually in our kindergarten classroom, they learn how to light the chalice even with all of the same instruments. So this is very exciting. Let us all say together, we are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice. And I'll just say, as we warm one another by the light of our chalice this morning while our boiler is broken, I want to remind you that one great way that we share the warmth of community and express that, sometimes following a song, is like this. And you might find that's a nice thing for us to do for Davis. He helped us give us the warmth of community. And you just might find that in the slightly fresh air of the sanctuary today, we welcome your doing that whenever you feel like during this service.
For our call to worship this morning, words of Alice Walker. To acknowledge our ancestors means we are aware that we did not make ourselves, that the line stretches all the way back, perhaps to God or to gods. We remember them because it is an easy thing to forget that we are not the first to suffer, rebel, fight, love, and die. The grace with which we embrace life, in spite of the pain, the sorrow, is always a measure of what has gone before. As we mark this time of All Souls, may those who have gone before us be present with us, that the blessings we have known might carry us forward. It is good to be together. Let's join now in the hymn, Abide With Me. Will you rise in body and in spirit? Please remain standing for a responsive reading by Billy Collins. But it is hard to speak of these things, how the voices of light enter the body and begin to recite their stories, how the earth holds us painfully against its breast, made of humus and brambles, how we who soon be gone regard the entities that continue to return greener than ever. Spring water flowing through a meadow and the shadow of clouds passing over the hills, and the ground where we stand in the tremble of thought, taking the vast outside into ourselves. Let's join now in our doxology, Spirit of Life.
We make space each week in our service to name the concerns of our community life. We are a caring community, and pastoral support happens through both our ministers and our lay ministers. And that care includes holding the prayers of the congregation throughout the week. If you are here in person, you can light a candle of intention, and the candles are both on the side galleries and in the front. And if you are online, you can send an intention to prayer at firstunitarianportland.org. This morning, we hold staff member John Rosette, who works in the front office. On Friday, John had surgery to remove several lesions on his bladder. John is not feeling well today, but is hopeful for a speedy recovery. Let us all hold him in prayers of healing and well-being. Today we are honoring All Souls Day and naming our beloveds who have died in the past year. And we are holding everyone who has lost a close family member. If you are one of those folks, you may want to consider participating in an upcoming 4-part series, Grief and the Holidays, led by Reverend Dwayne Fickeisen and Dr. Bill Yasnoff, on Sunday, November 17th and 24th, and Sundays, December 8th and 15th. And we're holding everyone in this room, in our city, and in our country. So many have shared their increasing anxiety as we get closer and closer to Election Day. We are creating spaces of care and reflection. On Tuesday, November 5th, Assistant Minister Danielle Garrett and lay ministers will hold a virtual contemplative service from 7 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. And on Wednesday, November 6th, you can drop by Elliott Chapel or Buchanan Reception during the lunch hour between 12 and 2. You can bring your lunch if you wish to process the election results or the unfolding results. And we will have a short program of prayer and readings at 12:30 p.m. in Elliott. And your ministers and lay ministers will be holding space for all that we might be feeling. And I'll send one last prayer to the members of our congregation that are knocking on doors and getting out the vote in Arizona literally as we speak. You can look on our Facebook page for updates throughout the week. Let us unite our hearts and minds in a spirit of prayer and reflective meditation. Spirit of life, it is the season of turning and letting go, when we witness the splendor of color before the leaves fall and blanket our earth. May our turning be towards one another. May our letting go be to better hold on to love. May our falling teach us how to be more resilient. It is the season of casting ballots, when we feel the power of our democracy in action and the places where corruption threatens it. May the tallied votes give rise to a more liberating path. May the elected leaders be discerning and wise. May we know that whoever wins, we have work to do. It is the season of the thinning of the veil, when we feel the presence of cherished loved ones, no longer with us, but never far from our heart. May we find hope in what once brought them delight. May we find peace around what was done and left undone. May we find courage in their moments of daring to be themselves. All these things, and so many others, are our prayers this day. Amen, and blessed be, and may it be so. And now I invite you into a moment of sacred silence together. It is the time for our morning's offering, and throughout October, we are sharing our plate with the Unitarian Universalist Association's Disaster Relief Fund. The scale of destruction in the wake of Hurricane Helene has been utterly devastating to many communities in the southeastern United States. Some Unitarian Universalist congregations have been seriously impacted, and others are still assessing the damage. This is an opportunity for all of us to reach out and support our fellow Unitarian Universalists and their communities as they recover from this storm. If you'd like to donate via check or cash, our ushers will be coming around in just a moment. If you'd like to give electronically, you can find the QR code on the screen and on the yellow slips in one of the racks in front of you. And if you are on Boxcast, you can just click the Donate Now button. Thank you for your generosity. It ripples out.
I'd like to begin this morning with a poem that speaks to me of this season, All Souls by May Sarton. Did someone say that there would be an end, oh, an end to love and mourning? Such voices speak when sleep and waking blend, the cold, bleak voices of the early morning, when all the birds are dumb in dark November. Remember and forget, forget, remember. After the false night, warm, true voices wake, voice of the dead that touches the cold living, through the pale sunlight once more gravely speak. Tell me again while the last leaves are falling, dear child, what has been once so interwoven cannot be raveled, nor the gift ungiven. Now the dead move through all of us still glowing. Mother and child, lover and lover mated, are wound and bound together and inflowing. What has been plaited cannot be unplaited. Only the strands grow richer with each loss, and memory makes kings and queens of us. Dark into light, light into darkness spin. When all the birds have flown to some real haven, we who find shelter in the warmth within listen and feel new cherished, new forgiven, as the lost human voices speak through us and blend our complex love, our mourning without end. Our complex love, our mourning without end. My mother died 32 years ago, but all too often I'd still like to ask what she thinks about the state of the world. And these days in particular, I wonder what she would have to say about the upcoming election. Now, my mother was a lifelong Democrat. In her kitchen, as long as I can remember, were two plates prominent there on the wall. One had the image of John and Bobby Kennedy. The other had the image of Hubert Humphrey, who ran for president in 1968. My mother was not one to show emotion that often, but mention of the Kennedys or Hubert Humphrey could quickly bring her to tears. They represented for her a deep sense of fairness and decency. Even when they and others didn't always live up to those ideals, she nonetheless seemed to believe in them and for sure in those ideals. Now, sometimes when I'm not clear about something, I'll imagine what my mother would have to say about it. And when it comes to our present time, I'm not altogether sure what she would think. Now, I'm pretty clear about who she would support and who she would not support in the presidential election coming up. And yet, I'd love to know how she felt about a woman possibly being elected to that office for the first time. Now, my mother and I did not disagree about many things, but when it came to politics, but my mother was a product of her generation, and that included some doubts about what roles women should be serving in. I had a hard time understanding this, and when she would express her misgivings about women in any particular office. Now, with time, I'm pretty sure that her views would have expanded through all these years, and that she would indeed be pleased to have a woman running for president. And yet that's something I may never know for certain. It is, we might say, an ongoing conversation between my mother and me. This week we mark All Halloween, All Souls Day, All Saints Day, Samhain in the pagan tradition. In this harvest season, special days all seem to call to those who have gone before us, a time when that veil between the living and the dead is somehow lifted. Later in this service, we'll name those in our community who have died in the last year, and we'll make a space too to light candles of remembrance for those who have gone before us. This is a tender service every year. Each week we mark the milestones of our community and our parish concerns. We may know some of those names, but we may not know many others. But whether we knew them or not, whether those losses are recent or long in the past, They're a reminder of what it means to be human, how loss is something that touches each one of us. And it is on this Sunday when we have this special recognition of those losses. What we might come to know with time is that those deaths come in so many forms. Now, some deaths, even those that can be terribly painful, do seem to fit in some larger order of things. We live to a good old age, whatever good old age means for each of us. We die with our business mostly finished. We have what might be called a good death. But then there are all those deaths that don't easily fit into the larger order of things, those that may take a long time to find peace with, those we may never find peace with, some sense of closure, those we may never fully come to accept. Deaths by suicide, deaths that come along with addiction or mental illness, deaths of young ones, deaths by violence, accidental or intention, deaths that come in the context of reproductive loss, how the loss is so very much connected with a difficult choice, how the loss may represent dreams unfulfilled. Those are the deaths that are not so easy to talk about. Those are the deaths that even with time may be more and more difficult to come to terms with. Those are the deaths that might be described by the poet in that phrase, our complex love, our mourning without end. Each death, like each person, is unique, and our relationships with those who have gone before are unique as well. The losses in our lives very much shape us. When I look out each Sunday, I'm aware of so many stories and the losses each one of us carries into this community. The parent who lost a child in pregnancy many, many years ago. The death of the loved one that still holds so many things that are unsaid. The death that happens in such a way that it makes it very hard to carry on. What is it that we remember? What is it that we forget? Our recollections are as unique as the individuals we are. Now, I expect most of us have had the experience of talking with someone about some event in the past. It might be that one person remembers that event in great detail and the other has no memory of it at all. It might be that one person remembers it in one way and another has such a very different perspective. What is it that we hang on to? What is it sometimes that holds on to us? And how we live with memory can vary just as much. Memories can hold on to us. They are what seem to hold us in place and sometimes can't let us go. They're the ways that we hold on to old hurts. They can keep us from truly living now in that present moment. We just can't seem to move past them and to move forward. We can get stuck and we can't find our way out of that. Moving beyond them seems almost impossible. They can be the very reminder of those things that we want to forget. They can bring pain. They can remind us of loss. It can remind us of ways that we've hurt others. It can remind us of the ways that we ourselves have been hurt. If we can just leave those memories buried, we have a better chance. If we can leave those, we have a better chance of not dealing with the pain that has also come with them. In the end, there may be so many things that are left unsaid. But memory can be a gift. It can offer us a chance to know just how any given loss has shaped us, how any given person has shaped us. It's important to know not just where we're going, but also where we have been, to know how the mistakes of the past might well repeat themselves in the present, and in forgetting our past, how we might be missing the very important something in the present that can carry us into the future. And I have come to believe that there is a reason for those memories. There's reasons why they stay with us. Memory, I've learned, is a strange and mysterious thing. It can keep us connected to others in ways that we may not always understand. It can keep us connected to people who are no longer with us. It can keep us connected to the times when we have hurt others and the times when we have been hurt ourselves. And there are reasons that we hold on to those hurts from the past and why they're inevitably with us. They're the results of our histories, and each one of us has the combination of experiences that make us who we are. Through memory, we may be able to revisit the past and see the past in some new light. Through memory, we're able to connect to our past and hopefully to find our way forward. It's a living, growing thing. Just how does all this work? I'm not sure, other than to know that at least part of it, I think, comes down to grace. I've also come to know that when we are ready to deal with something, there's a way that it presents itself for us to look at and to examine. Memory provides us with the clay that we're able to sculpt our lives with. They take on new shapes and sometimes new features. Memory is one of the tools that we have. It's memory that can hopefully help us make our lives whole. I recently listened to a wonderful podcast that featured a conversation between journalist Anderson Cooper and comedian Whoopi Goldberg. It's a tender conversation. They're reflecting on the loss of loved ones in each of their lives. For Anderson Cooper, it's his father's death when he was 10 years old, his brother dying by suicide when he was young, and his mother as she lives into old age. For Whoopi Goldberg, it was her mother and her brother and the deep bonds that they shared, how her mother was institutionalized for 2 years when Goldberg was young, and how as a child it was difficult to make sense of any of that, how Goldberg had to grow up quickly, whether she wanted to or not. They share how those losses in their lives offered a difficult but important lesson in life for each of them, how nothing lasts forever, how anything can change in a moment, and how in those moments we need to learn to take care of ourselves, how the goal in life is for nothing to be left unsaid, and how also life offers the possibility of that relationship continuing even after death, how time and perspective can offer that gift, how, as Goldberg says, there is light in these tunnels we are in. Our complex love, our mourning without end. Memory, too, is an important part of the work of religious community. The community of faith is a container for those memories. In being a community of memory and of hope, we recognize that we are with people in all stages of life, those who are born, those who die, and all of the places in between. I'm humbled to think about all the people who have been part of this community for so many years. It's in memory that I think we also can find hope, knowing that we are interconnected, living with an awareness of how we fit into some larger scheme of things, how we come to know that our own joy and our own pain are connected to the joy and pain that moves through the world, knowing that our losses connect us with all those who have gone before, knowing that the simple pleasures we celebrate are the same that people have celebrated through generations. It is living with the awareness that our losses are part of some much larger loss, how others too have together found their way forward. In his novel Jayber Crow, writer Wendell Berry tells the story of Jayber Crow, barber in a town called Port William, Kentucky. He also serves as the janitor of that church in town, and he is the narrator of the story of that town and those people. These are his words. One day, when I went up there to work, Sleepiness overcame me, and I lay down on the floor behind the back pew to take a nap. Waking or sleeping, I couldn't tell which. I saw them as I had seen them from the back pew where I sat with Uncle Othie, who would not come in any farther, while Aunt Cordy sang in the choir, and I sang with them and I saw them as I had seen them from that back pew on the Sunday before. I saw them in all the times past and present and to come, all somehow there in their own time, and in all time and in no time. The cheerfully working and singing women, the men quiet or reluctant or shy, the weary, the troubled in spirit, the sick, the lame, the desperate, the dying, the little children tucked into the pews beside their elders, the young married couples full of visions, the old men with their dreams, the parents proud of their children, the grandparents with tears in their eyes, the pairs of young lovers attentive only to each other on the edge of the world, the grieving widows and widowers, the mothers and fathers of children newly dead, the proud, the humble, the attentive, the distracted. I saw them all there. I saw the creases crisscrossed on the backs of the men's necks with their work-thickened hands, the Sunday dresses faded with washing. They were just there. They said nothing, and I said nothing. I seemed to love them all with a love that was mine merely because it included me. I seemed to love them all with a love that was mine merely because it included me. Words again of the poet. Light into dark, dark into lightness spin. When all the birds have flown to some real haven, we who find shelter in the warmth within feel new cherished, new forgiven as the lost human voices speak through us and blend our complex love, our mourning without end. Friends, may love hold us in this tender time. May love and memory remind us of that love, of those connections, of those moments of grace, and may it help us to be mindful of the ways that our lives move, the way the Spirit allows us to see things in some new way, the way we ourselves are able to move from that stuck place to some better place, the way sometimes that we are even able to come to a place of gratitude, to a place of forgiveness, to that place where nothing is left unsaid. Each week, we sing the words in our doxology, Spirit of Life, roots hold me close, wings set me free. May all of us in our present and in our past, in the memories we carry and in the memories we make, find ourselves always held in love. Amen. Now I'd like to invite Reverend Allison forward as we name those in our congregation who have died in the last year. Hear these names now.
Robin Henderson, Naomi Womax, Claire Amsden,
David Maynard, Stephen Cross, Stephen Larson,
Murdy Muller, Joanne Hagensick, Carol Gardner,
Robert Fasulo, Hazel Kelly, Linda Klingon,
Jerome Fulton, Neil Comfer, Dave Tilford,
Jan Eller Isaacs, Nancy Bragdon, Michael Spurlock,
Priscilla Grice, George Lee Hazelwood, Chick Duckworth,
Jewel Lansing, Irene Ettlinger, Andrew Wheeler,
Mary Bothwell, James Thomas Chapman, Ann Copeland,
Nancy Drew, Martha Westgate, Jerry Lynn Draper,
Gary Mack Bowling, Audrey Whitlow, Benno Phillipson,
Richard Arata, Perry Waggle, Mary Lansing,
Brett Jones, Brian Cunningham, Michael Rosette,
Tom Vandehey, Richard Gates, Gail Nance,
Ted Okrasinski, Marlene Anderson, Marilyn McFarlane,
Patricia Owens, Miriam Orleans, Arthur Hugh Ellis,
Brian McAleer, Scott Hogan, Roger Slater,
Tom Pickles, Molly Freeman, Rebecca Railings,
Lillian Tippins, Tom Spanbauer.
We remember them in faith, in hope, and in love. I'd like to invite you now to come forward and light candles of remembrance. There are several candles in front. There are also places to light candles in our side gallery. And if you're in the balcony and have a hard time coming down, just ask an usher and they can light a candle for you. So let us have this time of remembrance now as we light candles, remembering those who have gone before us. body and in spirit and share a responsive reading. We remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now part of us as we remember them. Let us sing together now our closing hymn for all the saints. As you go into this day, into this season, may you carry the ancestors with you and know through it all that you are held in love. This is the day we've been given. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.